Hey guys, Torcus here. So in this video we're going to be talking about Hunter doing the final card review for all of their Ashes of Outland cards. We've already done Demon Hunter and Druid, which both looked quite strong. Hunter looks a little bit weaker, I'd say, and a little bit more narrow in its focus. But we do have some Theorycrafted deck lists that I've made that are going to help me give more perspective on these cards, and we'll go over those at the end of the video. So let's hop into it. So the first card is part of this Beast buff archetype. It's Hellbore, 1 mana, 2/1, Death Rattle, give a random beast in your hand +1/+1. So in this Beast buff archetype, this does fit because it does do that Beast buffing effect, though it does seem very weak otherwise. I was surprised when I was looking at all the cards in the Hunter set that they really don't have that many substantial beasts, honestly. So outside of the Beast buff archetype, this definitely doesn't fit anywhere else. But if this deck does work, then I suppose this might be good enough. Though honestly, I even thought about not including this because it's really not that powerful on its own. It is cheap, so it does work with Tundra Rhino, being able to get charge and go face if it ends up taking some of these beast buffs from other beast buffing cards. I'm not sure that the beast buff archetype will be successful. There are a few aspects of it that make it seem a little bit slower, and so that it might not be able to keep up with some of these really aggressive decks that we're going to see, like Demon Hunter. But it probably is the most likely to succeed deck that I could think of, aside from the ones that were already there, like Highlander and Dragon Hunter. So I'm going to give this one 3 stars. Then we have Scrap Shot, 4 mana, deal 3 damage, give a random beast +3/+3. So this one is very slow, honestly. I've seen a little bit of people playing this in the Theory Crafting livestream, and it always seemed awkward to play because you're dealing the 3 damage, which is fine, but that's much better on like a cheaper card. And if you're in an aggressive game where you're under a lot of pressure, those stats, you're wishing that you had them on board already. Like, we had Flanking Strike before that did the 3 damage to a minion and then gave you a 3/3. This is kind of like that, except the stats go into your hand instead. If the minion that gets the stats really benefits from it, that's fine, but it's still pushing you back 1 turn. And this, with the Hellbore, they're both underwhelming a little bit, so that's why this whole archetype is looking a little iffy. But I'm still going to give it 3 stars because I think this archetype might work if we put all the pieces together. Then we have Scavenger's Ingenuity, 2 mana, draw a beast, give it +3/+3. This is definitely the best beast buffing card. It draws the beast, it gives the beast the stats, so it's a tutor effect. If you have less beasts in your deck, then you can very narrowly decide which beasts you're going to be getting when you play this card, and hopefully they have big benefits from it because of that. Even in non-beast buff decks, I think you definitely want to run this, and I put it in my Highlander Hunter. I think people will run it in their Highlander Hunter to try and draw whatever beast they may end up running to make it work. I think this one is just really strong. You can put it in any deck that's going to be running beasts. I'm going to give it 5 stars. Then you've got Augmented Porcupine, 3 mana, 2/4, Death Rattle. Deal this minion's attack damage, randomly split among all enemies. So this is a pretty mediocre card unless it gets the beast buffs. So it definitely goes in that beast buff deck and probably nowhere else. A lot of these cards are like that. It's all or nothing on this beast buff archetype, basically. So I'm just going to give this the same rating I've given the other ones, and I'm going to give it 3 stars. Then we have Mok'nathal Lion, 4 mana, 5/2 with Rush, Battlecry, choose a friendly minion, gain a copy of its Death Rattle. So because we look at the pool of Death Rattles, and honestly, we got 3 Death Rattles this expansion. They're all for this one Beast buff package. So this is also going to be stuck in that Beast buff deck. I don't think it's going to be able to fit anywhere else because we really don't have any significant Death Rattles outside of that. I think this is definitely quite good when combined with the Augmented Porcupine. Otherwise, getting an extra Zixor Death Rattle is fine. If you have to use it on the boar or like a Shimmerfly or something, you're definitely not going to be as happy, but it's at least you're still getting a 5 attack rush with something extra. This is going to be a fine inclusion in that deck. Hopefully that deck works out, and we're giving this 3 stars. Then we have Zixor Apex Predator, 3 mana, 2/4 with Rush and Death Rattle. Shuffle Zixor Prime into your deck. And then Zixor Prime is 8 mana, 4/4 Rush, and Battlecry. Summon 3 copies of this minion. So that is definitely trying to get those beast buffs and get that big payoff for all of them by getting it duplicated 3 extra times. I think the initial body is fine, and the upside on the second part is pretty huge. I did think that this was good outside of the beast buff deck as well, and I did put it in my Highlander deck. I think it does make sense in a Highlander deck as that extra option. I think in all the decks that it's going to be in, it's going to have a decent impact. The only real problem is that Hunter doesn't draw exceptionally fast, so the first part isn't exceptionally strong, and you might not draw the second part, so then it's kind of just a meh rush minion. But I still think the upside on that prime minion is worth giving it 4 stars. Then we have Pack Tactics, 2 mana secret for Hunter. When a friendly minion is attacked, summon a 3/3 copy. So this seems better with Death Rattles and stuff, so it kind of made sense in the Beast buff deck, though I'm still not entirely certain I even want it in that deck over other options. We don't really have a secret Hunter right now either. The Highlander deck has went in the Dragon direction, and that's probably where it's going to stay. In terms of like face Hunter and stuff using secrets, this wouldn't be one of the ones they would choose. I don't think. They'd still probably prefer the Snake Trap and stuff like that, Explosive Trap. So I think this is a fine secret, stronger than some of the other ones, but I don't necessarily know if I'm even going to be running it in very many decks after we've tested things out. But in the initial, I did put it in the Beast buff deck, and I have made a couple secret-based decks, but those are basically just a joke, so I'm not exactly putting any faith in this fitting into those decks either. So I'm just giving this 3 stars. Then we have Beastmaster Leorox, 8 mana, 5/5 Battlecry. Summon 3 beasts from your hand. So I looked around, and as I said earlier, I couldn't really find that many exceptionally exciting beasts. So honestly, this is pretty narrowly stuck in the Beast buff deck too, in most cases, I'd say. Otherwise, you're not really having enough beasts in decks that you might even expect to have 3 beasts in hand to be able to summon with it, which seems crazy. But of course I did put it in the Beast buff deck. That's mostly your win con, is pulling your Tundra Rhino and a couple of other beasts and charging face with all the buffs stacked up and stuff like that. That does make a lot of sense there, and this will be very cool in that situation. Otherwise, I think it's going to struggle to find a place where we can really make it get a big push out of it. I don't think we can really make a beast-heavy Highlander Hunter. And in terms of other hunters that run a lot of beasts, I am not really sure what we do about that either. I ran it in a OTK deck as well, but Hunter OTK deck, I don't know if that's going to really work out. So, honestly, it looks like an amazing card, but I'm just going to give it 3 stars. Then we have Imprisoned Felmaw. It's a 2-mana 5/4 demon, and dormant for 2 turns. When this awakens, attack a random enemy. So it's a dormant card that's definitely holding it back a lot. I put it in my Highlander list, but I think that's still very a questionable inclusion. It's just that we've lost a few cards from the list that we already had before. I thought I'd give it a shot. I don't know how these imprisoned cards are going to end up working out. Even though I did include it, I don't necessarily expect it to succeed in that slot, and I think it'll probably get switched out. But either way, I did give it at least a consideration, so I'll give it 3 stars. Alright, then we have Nagrand Slam as our last card. 10 mana, summon 4 3/5 Cleft Hoofs that attack random enemies. So it is significant to mention that it can go face. It can deal up to 12 damage if the board is empty. 12 damage for 10 mana is definitely a good deal. It's better than a Pyroblast, but the fact that, of course, your opponent could have minions on the board and suck up the attacks would mean that you're not necessarily going to get that free damage all on face. The fact that it is a 10 mana spell for Hunter does make it look very iffy. If we had Zul'jin in Standard still, I think it would be much more exciting, but Zul'jin is rotating out, and you won't be able to use this when you play Zul'jin again, so that is quite a drawback. I did make a deck with it, with Kael'thas, because I've been really hyped about using Kael'thas in different decks, and that is a way to make it free, so that's an interesting way to go at it, but I don't really expect that to go anywhere exactly. Maybe if we get more ways to make Kael'thas work in Hunter and make that a viable archetype, then I'd be more interested in this, but I'm going to give this card 2 stars. Alright, so that's it for the cards, so let's dig into some deck lists and check out what I've come up with. So of course the first deck we have is the Beast Buff deck. I ran all the Beast Buff deck cards that you'd expect. I've got the Scavenger's Ingenuity, the Hellbore, Zixor to benefit from it. I got mok'nathal Lion, Scrapshot, 2 copies of all of them. Beastmaster Leorox to pull the cards once they've been buffed, including Tundra Rhino to give them charge. Interesting thing that hasn't been run in anything I've seen before, Ramgahen Wild Tamer is a way to duplicate your buffed beasts in hand and get more value out of that way. I've got the Diving Griffin to pull both the Zixor and its prime, as well as the mok'nathal Lion. We got a little bit of draw that way, and then we've got tracking so we can get through the deck faster, Fresh Scent to keep buffing the beasts, and then Shimmerfly, just an extra 1-drop. Might give us more of these beast buff spells, you never know, and then other stuff that might be helpful in the game. And of course Porcupine and Pack Tactics. Pack Tactics able to maybe go off on the Porcupine, and that would be cool to get the extra death rattle off of that. I think the current version of this list looks pretty good. I still don't know if it's going to be quite as consistent as we want it to be, but we might end up seeing it be successful, and I would be excited to play this deck. Now the next deck is one that's very familiar to us already. It's Highlander Hunter. I figured I'd just drop a Highlander Hunter with just a few of the rotating cards going with some new options instead. So I threw in the Imprisoned Felmaw. It's just testing. I don't exactly expect it to go extremely well, but it might be a good inclusion. It's still hard to tell whether these Imprisoned cards are really going to be such a huge drawback that you won't end up really wanting to run them or not. I've also got Scavenger's Ingenuity and Zixor in here. So the Scavenger's Ingenuity can grab the Zixor, hopefully the Zixor Prime. There's only a few other beasts in here, like it could hit your Mana Saber, which is really good to have a stealthed minion with that extra +3/+3. And it can also hit the Diving Griffin, which can also pull the Zixor, so there's that synergy there. Otherwise, it's pretty much just Dragon Highlander Shell that you'd expect, and I don't think this is going anywhere. This has been very strong up till now, and it's probably going to continue to be so. And now we have some more interesting looking deck lists. So I came up with this combo, OTK King Krush deck. So the combo is to buff the King Krush with one of these beast buff cards, making it into an 11 attack minion. Then you use the Ramkahen Wild Tamer to duplicate it, and then you play another one of those. Now you have 3 King Crushers in your hand, all with 11 attack. At this point, you play your Beastmaster Leorox. He summons all 3 of them from your hand, and then you attack with 33 damage to face, as long as there's no taunts in the way. So it sounds like a really cool combo. The only problem being we're playing Hunter, and Hunter is not exactly known for their combo decks. That mainly being a problem because they have very limited draw and stuff like that. So what I ended up doing as the rest of the deck is I ran some extra draw with Flare and Novice Engineer. Flare not necessarily expecting to do much, though if Stealth Rogue is a big thing, Flare does remove their stealth, which is not insignificant for sure. I'm running Doomsayers to slow down the game. We got Bone Wraith and Carta Defender for these taunts and some extra healing and stuff. And then I've got this secret package a little bit with the Phase Stalker, which can hopefully get some cards out of our deck to thin it a little bit, and tracking as well to get through the deck and thin it some more. I'm running 1 Scavenger's Ingenuity so I can pull the King Krush from the deck, but I have a Scrap Shot as a backup in case I accidentally draw it before that's able to happen. So we have that extra game plan just in case. Hopefully you don't have to use the Scrap Shot, and it might just end up being a dead card, but if you do draw the King Krush ahead of time, you'd much rather not have your combo fall apart because of that. Not that having 3 8/8s charging at your opponent's face wouldn't be terrible either. If this deck ends up actually working, I'm going to be extremely happy. I'm definitely going to be trying it out to see if we can make it work. And then we have another very fun and different looking deck. This is a Secret Hunter with Kael'thas. So I've got lots of secrets. I got the Phase Stalker, I got Secret Keeper, Sunreaver Spy, Hyena Alpha, and Eagle Horn Bow. Lots of cards that benefit from secrets being in play or being played. And then we have Kael'thas, and then 5 expensive spells that can benefit from the fact that he's in there. So we've got Swarm of Locusts, 2 Unleash the Beasts, which of course create more Unleash the Beasts, and then 2 Nagrand Slams. I'm also running 2 Rapid Fires because Rapid Fire is a really good way to activate Kael'thas, as I discovered while I was making a Kael'thas deck in Wild for Hunter, which actually worked really well, honestly. So we haven't been seeing much Secret Hunter type stuff lately. We're losing Subject 9, which would have been a great inclusion in a deck like this. But I still think this could be cool. And also the Mass Contender from Rosticon's Rumble also going, which would as well be a great secret synergy card that we're going to be missing here. But I think it's still a cool deck, and it could do some crazy shenanigans with the Grand Slam. So again, just a fun deck. I don't think this is going to be a viable deck, but I'm definitely going to be trying it out. Alright, so that's all the deck lists that we're going to be looking at today. I hope you found them interesting and my reviews insightful. So please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment down below what you think of Hunter in this new expansion. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more of my content in the future. We're still doing the rest of these final card reviews, so you can look forward to that. And feel free to check out my stream at twitch.tv/morktorcus. We'll be streaming more of Ashes of Outland and Demon Hunter and all of these exciting things in the time to come here. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much, and I'll see you guys in the next